Imagine an army of 50,000 men, soldiers, officers, and camp followers, marching into the desert and never returning. No survivors, no battlefield, no clear record of what became of them. This is the mystery of the lost army of Cambyses II, a Persian force that supposedly vanished in the sands of Egypt more than 2,500 years ago. Ancient historians described a catastrophe of almost supernatural proportions, and for centuries explorers, archaeologists, and adventurers have tried to uncover the truth. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay updated with our latest videos. Did a single sandstorm erase an entire army from history? Or does the real story hide in fragments beneath the desert wind? The tale begins around 525 BCE, during the reign of Cambyses II, son of Cyrus the Great and ruler of the vast Achaemenid Persian Empire. Cambyses had recently conquered Egypt, toppling the pharaoh Psamtik III and adding the rich Nile Valley to Persia's dominion. According to the Greek historian Herodotus, writing nearly a century later, Cambyses sought to extend his control beyond the fertile riverlands into the remote western oases and the Libyan desert. One target was the Oracle of Amun at Siwa, a sacred temple deep in the Sahara that held immense religious prestige. Some scholars believe Cambyses wanted to legitimize his rule by gaining the oracle's blessing, or to destroy it if the priest refused to recognize his authority. Herodotus recounts that Cambyses dispatched an army of 50,000 soldiers from Thebes to seize the oasis of Siwa. The force supposedly marched westward across the desert, reaching the oasis of Karga before plunging into the barren wastes. Then, according to Herodotus, disaster struck. As the army advanced into the desert, a sudden and violent sandstorm swept over them, burying soldiers, equipment, and animals beneath waves of shifting dunes. Not a single man was said to have survived. Cambyses, waiting for news in Egypt, never heard from his troops again. For centuries, Herodotus's account fascinated readers, but raised as many questions as it answered. Was it possible for a sandstorm to annihilate such a massive force without leaving a trace? Could 50,000 people simply disappear? Ancient Egyptian records are silent on the event, and Persian inscriptions offer no confirmation. Some historians wondered whether the story was exaggerated or entirely invented, a cautionary tale about hubris, told by a Greek writer eager to depict Persian kings as reckless. Yet the Libyan desert is a place of deadly extremes. Modern meteorologists know that Khamsin winds, hot, dry gales that sweep across North Africa, can reach hurricane strength, carrying walls of sand that obscure the sun and suffocate anything in their path. Travelers even today risk disorientation and death if caught without shelter. An army burdened with supplies and animals would have been especially vulnerable. The idea of a sandstorm destroying an expedition is not implausible, though the complete disappearance of every body and artifact over millennia stretches credibility. Over the centuries, explorers and archaeologists have scoured the western desert for evidence. In the 19th century, European adventurers like Giovanni Belzoni and Gerhard Rolfs searched for traces of the lost army, inspired by Herodotus and local Bedouin legends. They found ancient caravan routes, scattered pottery and burial sites, but nothing that could be linked definitively to Cambyses' force. Each discovery fueled speculation without solving the mystery. In the 20th and 21st centuries, new expeditions combined satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and desert archaeology. Italian researchers Angelo and Alfredo Castiglioni announced in 2009 that they had found evidence of ancient campsites, bronze weapons, and fragments of textiles near the Gilf Kabir Plateau and the Great Sand Sea, areas roughly along the proposed route from Thebes to Siwa. They suggested that these remains might belong to Cambyses' soldiers, possibly indicating that the army was not buried in a single sandstorm, but instead perished gradually from exposure and thirst. Other scholars caution that the artifacts could come from later periods or smaller caravan parties, urging careful analysis before drawing conclusions. Alternative theories challenge Herodotus entirely. Some historians propose that the army never set out for Siwa at all. Instead, it may have been diverted to suppress rebellions in southern Egypt or Nubia, where it was defeated and absorbed into local populations. Others suggest that Persian records simply omitted the expedition because it was a minor operation or an embarrassing failure. In the ancient world, the absence of evidence could result from deliberate silence as much as from natural erasure. The strategic importance of the Siwa oasis adds another layer of intrigue. Situated about 50 kilometers from the Libyan border, Siwa was a key crossroads for trade routes linking Egypt to the interior of Africa. It was also home to the Oracle of Amun, which had prophesied Alexander the Great's divine status 2 centuries later. Control of such a sacred site would have strengthened Cambyses' claim as Pharaoh of Egypt. If his army truly set out to seize the oracle, its disappearance would have been both a political and spiritual disaster, one that Cambyses might have wished to conceal. Archaeological evidence from Siwa itself shows that the oracle remained independent during Cambyses' reign. Temples from the period display no Persian influence, and local traditions speak of resistance to foreign rule. This absence supports the idea that Cambyses either failed to capture the oasis or never reached it at all. Yet the lack of Persian artifacts is not definitive proof, for conquering armies often left minimal traces, especially if their campaigns were brief. The legend of the Lost Army also carries echoes of environmental change. Desertification in the region has intensified over millennia, burying ancient routes beneath shifting sands and erasing seasonal water sources. What might have been a challenging but passable journey in 525 BCE could later become impassable. Geological studies show that dunes in the Great Sand Sea can move several meters per year, easily covering campsites, weapons, and even human remains. Any traces of Cambyses' soldiers could now lie hundreds of meters below the surface, effectively unreachable without massive excavation. Despite the mystery, the story has left a lasting mark on culture. Writers from ancient historians to modern novelists have imagined the army's final moments. Soldiers blinded by sand, camels collapsing under scorching winds, officers struggling to maintain order as the desert swallowed them whole. Films and documentaries portray the Lost Army as a metaphor for human ambition, crushed by nature's indifference. Each retelling reinforces the haunting image of a vast force erased by a single storm. Recent technological advances keep hope alive for a breakthrough. Satellite-based remote sensing can detect subtle soil disturbances, buried structures, and mineral anomalies invisible to the naked eye. Archaeologists now use drones and 3D mapping to survey the western desert with unprecedented precision. If a mass grave or buried cache of weapons exists, future expeditions may finally locate it. Until then, the fate of Cambyses' army remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. The disappearance of the Persian force also invites reflection on the fragility of empire. Cambyses ruled one of the largest territories on Earth, commanding armies that stretched from the Indus Valley to the Mediterranean. Yet even the mightiest power could not guarantee success in the unforgiving environment of the Sahara. The desert cared nothing for kings or conquerors. Whether destroyed by a sudden sandstorm or slowly undone by thirst and confusion, the Lost Army illustrates how natural forces can humble human ambition. Today, travelers to the Siwa oasis can still visit the Temple of the Oracle, where palm trees and salt lakes shimmer against the endless desert. Guides tell stories of the Persian king, who tried to claim the oracle and lost everything in the attempt. Standing beneath the same sun that once blazed over Cambyses' soldiers, visitors feel the weight of history, and the mystery that continues to defy explanation. The lost army of Cambyses II remains a riddle suspended between legend and fact. Herodotus offered the first account, but neither archaeology nor modern science has yet provided a final answer. Perhaps the soldiers were buried in a single catastrophic storm. Perhaps they wandered off course and perished over days of heat and thirst. Or perhaps the expedition never happened as described, its tale amplified by centuries of retelling. Whatever the truth, the story endures because it captures the eternal tension between human ambition, and the unforgiving forces of nature. If this journey into the deserts of ancient Egypt sparked your curiosity, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more explorations of history's greatest mysteries. Do you believe Cambyses' army still lies beneath the shifting sands, waiting for discovery? Or is it destined to remain a legend forever carried on the desert wind?